be ready in 6 months, maybe less. However, for this to make sense for us or for the property owner, it should be a long-term lease. Another option is either new or remodel construction. Building a new office would require purchasing property, developing plans, and completing environmental review, and acquiring permits prior to starting construction. Remodeling an existing building will require purchasing a building, developing improvement plans, and acquiring permits prior to starting construction. The district only owns 2 buildable properties, one at the treatment plant and one next to the fire station. There are numerous other parcels throughout town for sale, and those range from $150,000 to $500,000 depending on property size and location. If we buy a property, that could take 4 to 8 months to buy the property. If it's a vacant property, then it could take 1 year to 2 years to get through design permitting, depending on size and type of building. And those costs could be between $150,000 to $250,000, depending on how big we were doing and what was all entailed in that particular parcel. General public building costs for this area are roughly $1,000 per square foot right now, which is outrageous, but that's kind of where they are. So depending on how big you make it, you factor about $1,000 times how many square feet you got. An existing building could take 1 to 2 years to get through design and permitting at a reduced cost of basically $50,000 to $150,000, depending on how much of a remodel you're doing. If it's a building that we could buy that takes next to nothing, then it obviously would be less. Remodel costs are difficult to estimate because it would really be dependent on what your remodel was actually doing. Costs for purchasing property or buildings and or building a new building would be paid through either reserve or capital funds and or loans. It's really difficult to find grants for administrative buildings. As far as I know, there's very few of them. We haven't been able to locate any, and I don't know that we would necessarily qualify for them even if we could find them. So this is basically just beginning information, not knowing which direction the board really wants to go. We can come back with more definitive information, but essentially what we're looking at is probably if we were to build something, between $500,000 at least. If we decide to rent something, it wouldn't be any cheaper than what we have now, but it could be considerably more depending on what the lease is. But based on what I could find, probably wouldn't be more than $1,400 more a year to rent something. That would have to be the cost for this building would be proportionally shared across all the departments. Not all departments have reserve or capital funds. So, but then again, if we build something, it will take a couple years to get through the system because of how poor the system is. But if it's something the board wants to do, then now is a good time to start it.
Can't start it today, it's discussion only.
Well, we don't have enough information to make a decision anyway, so if the board wants to tell me which direction they want to go, we can bring something back in the future.
Did you make contact with the owner of the building?
Yes.
And you stated $1,500 to $2,000. He doesn't know what he would lease the building for?
So in discussion with him, it wouldn't be less than $2,500, which is stated in the report.
Wouldn't be less than $2,500.
So I stated $2,500 to $3,000.
Yeah, that's right.
If you can get it for $1,500, that would be great. Save us $700 a month.
That's the one on Mission Street, right?
1271 Mission.
Yeah.
that's been rebuilt, it's got sprinklers and everything in it, the way I understand.
Yeah. Well, it would require,
Sprinklers in it before. Yeah.
That's the old steakhouse?
no,
It's a
that's
little grow room.
no, well, it was a lot of different things, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Next to the old, or next to
It's next door to the Elk.
There was old place, right?
Yeah, it was the lawnmower shop for.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lawnmower.
So if the board wants to move forward with that, I can bring something back to move forward with that. But any space that we rent would have to be modified to some extent to ensure that it's a productive space for the office and a safe space for the public.
No lead paint.
I don't think they have any paint left from those building reports.
Thank you. All right, I got one more question. How far is that lot on the north side of the fire station that we own?
Goes to the power pole.
Goes to the power pole. What is that about?
Is it a 25-foot lot? Is it a 50-foot lot? 75-foot lot?
Probably.
75 foot, and then how, what is it, standard 100 foot deep or?
It goes to the back of the fire station.
Okay. But,
It's not a standard lot for the town.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of them 25 by 100.
Okay, any other board comment or questions? Now's the time.
What we need is a C.S.D. building with firefighter living space on the second floor. That's what we need.
Well, and if that's what the board wants to start moving towards, the fire department has wanted that, or wanted a building for a long time. We can start moving towards that. It just takes a lot of money to do that.
I wouldn't be all that concerned about parking. Sure, that can all be figured out. You know,
And that's part
if
of-
you got enough space for 10 cars, you'd be fine. We, of course, have to incorporate a meeting room as well, but like, the lot's certainly deep enough. That's all I got.
Okay, any public comment on this item?
I would ask the board to consider three things. 1271 Mission Street, what's going to take to move into there? The new double-wide trailer that you have down there, how feasible would it be for that to be an office? Keep the sheriff in his little cubby hole, turn the rest of it into a CSD office, maintain your relationship with the senior center, and hold your meetings here. It's right on the main street. And third would be, what's it going to take to move your current trailer next to that mobile home on that commercial lot and just move along with the business in that? I would ask you to consider those three things. They seem like the most cost effective unless somebody's going to drop a building or a lot and a building on top of the district. I don't think that's going to happen.
Thank you.
So, to that, I would say we are leasing a space for some reason that we have no use for whatsoever.
Moving the extra lot. That was setting up.
At least the whole corner, like for double wide, which makes no sense, but that's what we did.
So, I can respond to that.
Sure.
So, moving anything into the temporary housing unit would not be beneficial. It would have to be retrofitted to be ADA compliant, which means probably paving the parking lot, building ramps to it, and then you would lose the whole purpose of why it's there in the first place. Not to mention the fact that it's too small to have 4 different offices in there, plus the sheriff. Putting something next to that,
That's the only part I would disagree with that. I think it's more important that we have firefighter housing, but you can't say that 2 bedrooms and a living room wouldn't equate to enough space for 4 people. That's just not true.
yeah, I'm gonna disagree, but if we wanted to put something next to that, then we would look at that as an option. most likely, we would not be able to move the existing trailer that we're renting right now to that space. I don't believe that the county would allow us to do that. So if we were to do that, then potentially you could buy a new trailer to put there. But as long as it took for the county to agree to the one that's there, you're probably a couple years into it, and then they're still going to be screwing around with you.
I don't think the county would approve that.
Probably.
They only approve this as a temporary. And temporary cannot run past 5 years.
Well, if you ask the county, they don't permit temporary anyway.
Well, they did on this one.
Yeah, they did on our trailer too, but they told me flat out they don't permit temporary.
I asked them what the definition of temp was, and they said it could be up to 5 years. So they do have a definition. They may not share that information, but they do.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something we can look at. I would suggest that if we're going to build anything, that we own the property that we're going to build on, if we intend for it to stay there.
What is the goal of alternate housing solutions? Anyway.
Alternate for firefighters?
No, for moving the district office. What's the benefit? What's the goal?
Well, I would say that you'd have to give a little bit more consideration to item 2 before you jump anywhere near item 3.
I see. So they're related.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of, aren't they?
I mean, I'm just, yes.
I mean, I don't like the idea of the whole office being out there to begin with. I never did like the idea. But again, if we're gonna build something in the space that we own, we have a fire station that's suitable. And you can very easily, if you were gonna spend money to build something, to put a C.S.D. on the first floor and put living space on the second floor, and the county would be happy with that because they don't want a modular downtown. They do want living space on the second floor. That's part of the code down there. So that would certainly facilitate it.
I may be wrong, but I understand
Excuse me.
in a firehouse, well, I guess they are allowed to live up, so you may be able to answer that, Scott. Can the firemen live upstairs?
Not in our fire station.
There are certain code exceptions that allow ambulatory staff to live on the second floor and that the second floor not be ADA compliant as long as it's off limits to non-essential service staff. That would be a design criteria that would have to be followed through.
Like I said, then you still got that double wide sitting down there.
Well, you'd get rid of that at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the end of our discussion. We conclude.
Okay, I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
I'm really interested in that 1271. I think we really need to look into that storefront. I mean, that's,
Oh, for rental?
yeah.
I mean, the rent space?
Yeah. Well, we're renting right now. You know,
Cost of moving, though.
yeah.
Make more sense just to move them back into the fire station.
Well, that's true.
The space isn't available at the fire station anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, the back office is no longer there. The training room area is no longer there, so you're
Have to share it.
going to shove
Have to share it.
4 more people back in there, and it's not going to happen.
I don't know about that.
If it happens, it's going to be the most ineffective, inefficient thing that we've done probably ever.
Okay.
Well, would you like to see more information back about this, what you're saying?
Me?
Yeah, I'd like to see the forms that we put in our employees' files saying that
Last item.
yeah, that is the last item, and I'm gonna come down to your office tomorrow so you can show me one.
Well,
You gonna be working tomorrow?
yeah.
Okay. I'll see you then.
Well, the forms that you're asking for don't exist.
Oh.
The forms that they sign for, or the acknowledgement that they sign for the IIPP exists.
Right. Does it list the hazards?
No, because it's the IIPP.
Right.
job descriptions list.
So there's some confusion here.
So from the last item, I think I have direction on what the board was asking for, which is to develop one so that we can acknowledge that. But again, that's the last.
What I heard you say was that, well, we can't talk about it because we're off track. I'll come in and talk to you in a moment.
So you would like to
I'll talk to you about the tree
more
service.
information about 1271?
Yes. Yes.
We can bring back some information about 1271.
Okay.
No.
Does Pablo own that?
Yes.
He pretty much owns the whole block.
He does everything but the other one.
Okay.
What about that that two-story building, the old phone building, I think?
He doesn't own that. That's an art studio.
Yeah, but I think
It's a home.
that's supposed to be up for sale or something.
Yeah. It's for sale.
Oh, it is for sale?
Yeah.
Turn it into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
All right, we're off track. We're going to
Okay, sorry.
adjourn to the closed session. Is there any public comment on the closed session items? No. All right, so we're adjourned.
Time?
6:49.